counselor here for Rockdale County Public Schools. And we would like to again thank you for joining us for our virtual financial aid night. Tonight, we are going to cover the information you need to know about the FAFSA as well as the Georgia Student Financial Aid app. We'll learn some information about HOPE and your child's HOPE GPA, where to locate that information, and just a few friendly tips. This evening, joining us from Georgia Student Finance Commission is our representative, Ms. Brenda Vaughn. Brenda Vaughn is the person who is our go-to person here in the district. Many of your children will know her by face, and because she visits each of our schools often, she is definitely the go-to person for all of our school counselors. And so we are grateful that she has yet again come back out. This is, I believe, her third time coming out to help us again with a financial aid information session. So parents, listen up, take notes. At the end of the presentation, we will have a short Q&A where you'll be able to ask questions on mic. Throughout this presentation, we have disabled all cameras and mics so that Ms. Vaughn will be able to go through the presentation. This session is being recorded, and within 3 to 5 days, it will be posted on the RCPS web page, as well as sent out to your child's counselor. Thank you again for joining us, and stay tuned for great information. Ms. Vaughn?
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you all for coming. And yeah, let's just go ahead and get started. This first slide really is just reminders to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We give out the most updated, latest information via social media, especially Instagram. We do a lot of Instagram lives, and you can go back and check those out as well. And again, my name is Brenda Vaughn with the Georgia Student Finance Commission. And we're going to define financial aid, look at the different types of financial aid. We're going to talk about the federal programs, the Georgia State program, application process for each, a little bit of Georgia Match, and apply to college March Madness that's happening this coming up month. So financial aid is just to help you pay for college expenses. Those are a part of the cost of attendance that is set by each institution. So each institution has an estimated cost of attendance, which they think it could cost your student to attend that institution. In that cost of attendance, there are they all include things like tuition and fees, books and supplies, room and board, personal costs, transportation to and from the institution. And every institution has the same formula of what's included in the cost of attendance. So you can really compare cost at different institutions, comparing them like apples to apples, because they all have the same pieces within the cost of attendance. Now, there are some direct costs and some indirect costs. So as you are filling out the FAFSA and the GSF app, and the schools are getting that information, they will send an award letter or award package, which is separated by semesters. So you'll see all of the aid in that semester, whether it's HOPE or Zell, maybe other scholarships, Pell Grant, loans, whatever. In that column, in that semester or that quarter, the school will keep the direct costs. So they'll keep whatever's owed to them, like tuition and fees, on-campus housing, meal plans, parking permits. So they'll keep the direct costs, and then what's left would be then sent to the student to be able to use for other educational expenses, such as maybe rent, groceries, books, supplies, those kinds of things. So that's how the student will then get the additional funds. Now, there are different types of aid, of course. So you have scholarships, grants, and the work-study program, all which you do not have to repay. Free money, of course, you want to work on getting that first. Then there are different types of student loans and parent loans. We'll get into that in a minute. But by definition, you'll have to repay that back, and typically with interest. There are different sources of funding for all of that aid. The federal and state government, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight, colleges and universities. They may have institutional aid that would be available. Private foundations, professional service organizations, employers, and private companies. There is just a ton of those out there that you're going to have to really search for. My first suggestion is um, working with your counselors at your individual schools, especially for those local scholarships. They send all of that information to the counselors, and the counselors are sending them to your students. They are either emailing them or mine. There's paper applications in their office. Students have got to start checking that email and start applying, because a lot of those applications are getting to be at the due points at this time. So now is the time for those seniors to really work on getting those applications, because the more money you can earn now, the less cost ultimately out of your pocket. So the federal program, they have different types of aid that we'll go through, but to be eligible, the student has to be a U.S. citizen or an eligible non-citizen, graduate from a high school or have a GED, be in an eligible degree-seeking program, a valid Social Security number, and have to be maintaining satisfactory academic progress. And satisfactory academic progress, SAP, basically means that the student enrolled in college classes have to complete a certain percentage at that institution. I think at UGA when I worked there, it was like 67%. So as long as the student is completing at least 67% of the classes that they enroll in that year, they will be able to continue to receive federal and state aid. Now, that could include the dual enrollment classes. They are college classes. So if students are taking college classes while in high school, that could be a part of the SAP progress policy as well. So you got to make sure you're completing the classes, not withdrawing from classes, any incompletes. All of those can negatively affect your financial aid. So if you're thinking about withdrawing, make sure you're talking to your financial aid office to see how that could affect your financial aid. So these are two different types of federal programs or federal grants that you will be applying for or screened for when you fill out the FAFSA. So the first one is the Pell Grant. It is need-based, meaning it's based on the information that you put on the FAFSA, income, your parents' family income, the household income altogether. So when you complete the FAFSA, there's a calculation that includes your income, your assets, number in the household. There's a formula that will create a number called the Student Aid Index. The lower that index is, the more free money you will be receiving. So there's no one set salary. It's a combination of salary, assets, those kinds of things. So again, the lower the student aid index, the more free money you'll be able to receive. This year, the full amount of Pell is just over $7,000. So completing the FAFSA was very important just to find out if you're eligible for any Pell money. Now, even if you don't get the full amount of Pell, you could get $1,000, $2,000, something of that sort, depending on that student aid index. So it's real important to apply the first year and see what you get. The Federal Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant, also need-based, based on that student aid index. But this is first come, first serve. So institutions only have a certain amount of money to give to students for the Supplemental Educational Opportunity Grant. And once it's gone for the year. So you want to make sure you're applying early. If you eligible and you didn't apply early enough, you're not going to get it. But if you apply earlier next year, then you're more likely to get it if you're still eligible. So that's important to remember. The federal work study program, also first come, first serve. It is also need based. So you want to make sure that you are completing your FAFSA early for that as well. It's basically an on campus job, it has many benefits. Um, and if you're not eligible or you miss the deadline for it through the federal government from the school, maybe they're all out of the federal work study jobs, there are plenty of on-campus jobs that have the same benefits. So even if you're not eligible or weren't eligible this year, if you want to work on campus, I would really encourage you to do so. So of course, again, you want to make sure you're utilizing all that free money first. If you looking at your own budget and you're realizing you need additional money, there are loans that will be available to the student. One is a subsidized loan, which means the federal government subsidizes the interest or pays on the interest while the student is in school. So the student can borrow $1,000 their freshman year. If they don't borrow any more money when they graduate from college, they only owe $1,000. Okay, so not accruing any amount of interest while the student is in school. However, after college, once they graduate, they will start accruing interest at 5.5% on the loan this year until it's paid off. So again, even though you're saving on interest while the student is in school, there will be interest accruing after graduation. So you want to make sure you're paying that loan off as soon as possible. There's the unsubsidized loan. And subsidized is need-based as well. Unsubsidized, everyone is eligible. Any student is eligible for the unsubsidized loan, and it will accrue at 5.5% the minute it is dispersed to the student. Parents can take out a Parent Plus loan. It is credit based. Only one only one parent can be a borrower. It will be accruing at the 8.05%. And the parents can pay on it while the student is in school, but they can defer payment, but interest will be accruing once it's dispersed. So students are limited to a certain amount of money that they can borrow at every academic year. So as a freshman, you can only borrow up to $5,500. Only $3,500 of that can be subsidized, and the rest would be unsubsidized if you're eligible for that sub loan. If you're not eligible for any of the sub loan, then all of it would be in the unsubsidized loan. Now, again, completing the FAFSA will screen you for the loans. Doesn't mean you have to take them. You can take some of that if you want. Maybe you don't take any of it until you actually need it. So do not feel pressured to have to take the loan unless you absolutely need that loan. All right, so Georgia State Aid. We all know that as the HOPE program. And the HOPE program has many different parts. So you have the HOPE and the Zell Miller Scholarship, the HOPE and the Zell Miller Grant, and the HOPE Career Grant. And no one asked me when they were naming these names. I would have named them something a little more different, but so that makes it a little confusing. So all of those pieces are part of the HOPE program. And we'll go through all of these individually. Now, in order to be able to receive any HOPE money, you have to be eligible for federal money. So you have to meet all those requirements, as well as you have to be eligible with other requirements like be a legal resident. Male students have to register for selective service at the age of 18. Now, that's a federal law anyway, but in order to receive any state aid money, males have to register for selective service. Now, I was at a school last night. Every gentleman at the table happened to be 18, so we made sure they were registered. One wasn't going to be turning 18 till August of this year. So he went ahead and did the FAFSA, did his GSF app. He will be awarded. Everything will go through. And then in August, when he's 18, he'll register. If he doesn't register at 18, funding stops. So do not wait to turn 18 and to register, gentlemen. Go ahead and fill out all of your information, but once you're 18, you do have to register for selective service, and you will do that at this website, sss.gov. So that's where the gentleman at age 18 will go to register for selective service. And that is the draft. It hasn't been used in years, but you do have to register. All right. So back to the HOPE program. Again, all of these different parts, the scholarship side, and then you've got the grant side. So the difference for the state aid for our scholarship, that's if the student is working towards an associate's or bachelor's degree. And the grant side is a certificate or diploma program. Okay. So for the HOPE scholarship, again, the student pursuing an associate's or bachelor's degree, the student will have to have a 3.0 high school HOPE GPA at graduation and have to have 4 academically rigorous credits. So those credits, those courses, there are any AP courses, IB courses, dual enrollment that are any courses, advanced math, science, foreign language 2 or higher. All of those are considered rigorous courses. So only we at the Georgia Student Finance Commission will calculate your high school HOPE GPA. We look at classes from 9th to 12th grade. Your school or your district will upload your transcripts for us at the end of every academic year. And for you seniors, they have uploaded them this February as well. So seniors, you can go in and look at your calculation, your preliminary HOPE calculation, which includes 9th grade all the way to December of your senior year. And they are only the core academic courses that are calculated, and any rigorous courses that you've had, we add weight to that. We add 0.5 to that. So when you log into GA Futures, everyone should make sure they have an account. You will go to my GA Futures, click on My High School HOPE GPA, scroll down, pick your high school, scroll down, and then you'll see your calculation. You'll see how many credits of rigor you have thus far. If you have an SAT score or an ACT score, and especially if you're working towards Zell Miller, you'll want to make sure that it's listed here as well. If you're not seeing it, you want to make sure that you're uploading it to the website, and there's directions online of how to get your SAT or your ACT score. There's also a way to view your detailed report. So the bottom button there, you click on that, you can look at basically the transcript that we have and be able to see every course that we've calculated in your HOPE calculation, as well as it goes through and shows you which ones are considered rigor. So we've added weight to those. All right, so HOPE is a 3.0. Zell Miller Scholarship, you actually, if you're the valedictorian or the salutatorian, you will be able to receive the Zell Miller Scholarship. If you are not one of those two people, you will have to have a minimum of a 3.7 high school HOPE GPA, a test score of 1200 for the SAT, or a 25 for the graduating class of 2025 is there's a lot of 25s in this. 25 ACT score is the requirement for anyone graduating in the year 2025. Now, if we have any, I don't know if we have any juniors or anybody less that are underclassmen, in January of your senior year, this is re-looked at every time to see if it stays 25 or if it changes. So in the January of your senior year, contact us or look on our website. We'll have the updated ACT score if it changes. SAT, you can, let's see, do I have, okay, yeah. SAT, ACT, again, still a requirement for Zell Miller, even though the colleges are not requiring it for admissions, may not be requiring it. If you want Zell Miller, you need to do it. Y'all, if you have a 3.7 and you're not taking your SAT score and your ACT score, y'all should be ashamed. There's so much money to be saved. it doesn't hurt you to take the test. If you don't make it, you don't make it. If you do, you're saving a ton of money. You guys have worked so hard for that 3.7. Go all the way and take that test. See if you can't get your score to get full the Zell Miller scholarship. Okay. Now the award amounts, and this is why it's so important, Hope only pays a portion of your tuition. Zell Miller will pay full tuition. And if it's a private school, you can see that there's a different amount depending on if it's a private or public. And so you want to make sure you're doing the best to get that Zell Miller scholarship. Now, the Hope recipients, um, the amount that's being paid for the Hope Award is determined every June. So in a few months, we will know what Hope will pay for you while you're in college next year. So current students, I got to change that year because it's the 24-25 current college students. They're paying 100% of last year's um, tuition rate. So in June last year, the General Assembly said it's going to be 100%, but it's 100% of last year's tuition. So any institutions that increase their tuition rate, Hope recipients are having to pay the difference. Um, Hope does not cover fees, food, books, or housing. So you want to make sure that you understand that because that is a great deal of the cost of going to college. So Hope pays a portion of the tuition. UGA, Georgia Tech are on a flat rate. And so you can see here the difference if you per credit hour, how much you as a Hope recipient or the current Hope recipients are paying at UGA and Georgia Tech. So your class, um, again, we won't know till June to determine what your award amount is going to be. Zell Miller is always 100% of the current year's tuition rate. Again, no fees, books, housing, or anything like that, but 100% of current year's tuition. And so this is an example of the flat rate with UGA and Georgia Tech, how Zell Miller will cover your full standard tuition. And the only time you can earn Zell Miller scholarship is at graduation from high school. So you want to make sure you're working towards that. So while you're in college, Hope, you have to maintain it with a 3.0 college Hope GPA. So just like you came to GA Futures to look at your high school Hope GPA, you will continue to come to GA Futures to look at your college Hope GPA. That being said, it's very important. Make sure that you're changing your email address from your high school email address to a personal email address. So you will be still have access to that to be able to monitor your college Hope GPA while you're in college. We will check every spring semester and 30, 60, 90 semester hours to make sure you're maintaining the 3.0 to keep eligibility for the Hope Scholarship. Your college will upload your transcript at the end of every semester. So you also can look to see what your Hope GPA is and also see your attempted hours. And so you can kind of see when your benchmarks are coming up. So you'll continue to come to GA Futures, click on My GA Futures, and you will go to My College Hope profile. Your College Hope GPA will be different than your cumulative GPA for a couple reasons. One very big important one is that your dual enrollment classes will not be included in your College Hope GPA. It will be included in your college cumulative GPA and count towards your degree as promised, but it will not be in your Hope calculation in college. And therefore, those hours that you've earned in dual enrollment will not count against the 127 Hope hours that you have that Hope will pay for. Any STEM courses, we do add weight to those as well. So even if you did not have dual enrollment hours, your College Hope GPA will probably be different than your cumulative college GPA. Zell Miller, you have to earn a 3 point, or you have to earn it with a 3.7. You maintain it with a 3.3. Again, just like the Hope, we check at the end of every spring, semester, or quarter, and then at your 30, 60, 90 attempted hour will be evaluated to see if you are still eligible for the Zell Miller Scholarship. If you fall below the 3.3, and if you are at least a 3.0, you will be able to utilize the Hope Scholarship until the next benchmark. And if you have your 3.3, then be able to retain the Zell Miller Scholarship. So in order to lose the Hope or Zell, you would need to make sure that you have your GPA once you've hit 127 hours, or once you've earned your first professional degree, then you will no longer be eligible for the Hope or the Zell. So that's the scholarship program. The scholarship side, remember again, associate's degree or bachelor's degree. The grant side is certificate or diploma program. So in order to receive the grant, you will first enroll in a certificate or diploma program. There is no GPA requirement. There's no test score requirement. You will be awarded the Hope Grant as long as you maintain a 2.0 College Hope GPA. You can keep the Hope Grant and again, paying the portion of your tuition. Now, if you do really well and you move up to a 3.5 College Hope GPA, then you can actually move up to the Zell Miller Grant, which will pay full tuition. So for the grant side, you can move up to the Zell Miller Grant. The Hope Career Grant, there's just a ton of these certificate and diploma programs that are under the Hope Career Grant. If you are part of any of them, you can get some additional money. Some of the programs that you can use the Hope Career Grant along with the Hope Grant could pay full tuition. And then if you get the Zell Miller Grant and you're getting the career grant, then you have additional money for books and what have you. So if you're interested in a certificate or diploma program, you might want to check these programs out. I mean, there's everything from cybersecurity, filming, gaming, welding, law enforcement. I mean, just a ton of things that are really vital to the state of Georgia, and we need some a workforce in it. Thus, has created the Hope Career Grant. All right. So to apply for any part of the Hope program, you will have to complete the GSF app. Now, this is for seniors only. So your senior year, you can go to My GA Futures, and then you will click. This is your dashboard. So you see the GSF app, FAFSA selective service. So gentlemen, you can see if we're showing that you're registered or not as well as you scroll down here. But click on the GSF app bar. It will drop down this information. If you don't see an application ID, you have not completed the application yet. Okay, so click on State Aid Applications, then the GSF app, and then once you're done and come back here, it will show you your application ID, when you completed it, and the expiration date. Y'all, this takes like 2 seconds. It is an easy form, and a lot of times it's so easy. So many students, when we go look at it, we're like, oh, you already filled it out. They don't even remember doing it. So it takes nothing to do it. So I encourage you to do that. And then we have the FAFSA. Now, so let me say this. I really encourage you to do both, the GSF app and the FAFSA, for a couple reasons. FAFSA, you want to see if you're eligible for any of that free money. And then some schools, especially if you're going to a private school, they may have institutional aid, but you may need to be required to fill out a FAFSA. Scholarship may require you to fill out a FAFSA. So the first year, fill it out. If the next year you're finding you're not getting any free money, you don't need any loans, no one's requiring it, maybe you don't fill it out next year because you've done the GSF app, and that will automatically renew all of the Hope the Hope scholarships, or the Zell Miller Scholarship, Hope or Zell Miller Grant, and so forth. So Again, strongly encourage you to do both the first year, and if you decide you don't need to do the FAFSA the next year, you don't have to. This year, FAFSA opened December 31st. It had a soft launch in January, and then last year's slide. Oh my gosh. But it opened in December 1st. And so next year it's supposed to open October 1st. And so we don't know yet. We haven't heard, but make sure you're looking out for October 1st because, again, all that aid that's first come, first serve, you want to apply as soon as possible. Now, for the FAFSA, you will need Social Security numbers, tax returns. I've seen a lot of tax returns being transferred over pretty easily, but for some reason this past week I've been seeing a lot of people having to enter it manually. So I don't know what the glitch is with all of that, but so either way, make sure you have your tax returns just in case you need those. The first thing you'll do, the student and the parent who's going to be the contributor, we'll talk about who that is in a minute, will have to create an FSA ID. It's just an account, a username and a password. Each person will have to create their own. Now, if a parent already has one, you cannot create another one. So just use the one that you have to be able to contribute to your students' FAFSA. You'll go to studentaid.gov, click on create account, get started, and then you'll just start entering all that information. I strongly encourage the parent and the student to create their own accounts. I have had so many people, like if the student's doing it, they've gotten the birth date wrong. The other week, she put 1987 instead of 78 for the mom, and that was the big problem. Then parents will do it for their student and then accidentally put their social in there and stuff. So if you do your own account, those errors are less likely to happen. Also, I see parents just put my email address in there. Parents can't do that. Everyone has to have, there's only one email address, one phone number, one social per account. So students are gonna have to start looking at their email, opening their email because it's only one email per account. So which FAFSA are you going to complete? If you're graduating this summer, I don't know why these dates are all wrong. I'm so sorry. I must have pulled up the wrong, I don't know. But if you are if you're graduating spring 2025, oh, this is right because this last year. So last year's FAFSA is 23-24. So that was last year's FAFSA with the 20. No, this is not. So you're graduating spring 25 and you're going fall 25. You need the 25-26 FAFSA. So this current FAFSA is the 24-25. So if you're graduating in spring 25 and you happen to be going summer 25, you'll need the 24-25 FAFSA. But if you're going fall 25, you're going to need the 25-26 FAFSA. And you'll be using your 2023 tax returns. You don't have a choice. Sometimes I hear, well, I'm going to do 24 quickly and use those. You can't do that. You're going to be using your 23 tax returns. So when you get into the FAFSA, you will click Start Here. You will click I'm a Student. There are several videos. You do not have to really watch those unless you want to. You can continue through those. Students will have to give approval to have their tax return information transferred to, you know what, let me go back for a second. Because I saw someone on the chat earlier say that they did their part. So if a student is starting the FAFSA, they're going to start here with student. They're going to put their information, and then they're going to invite the parent in, or send an invite to the parent for the parent to do their part. And that's the process I'm going to go through. Now, there are some cases where parents have started and said, I'm the parent. And they have started putting their information in, some of the students' information. But if the parent starts the FAFSA, they're sending the invite to the student. So then the student has to log in to their account, and then they have to accept the invitation and they have to finish their part. So regardless of which direction you're going, whether the student invites the parent has to finish their part, or the parent starts and invites the student and the student has to finish their part. Two different people are going to have to finish their part of the FAFSA. Okay. All right, and both of you will have to give consent for the IRS to give their transfer any information. Students, even if you did not file tax returns, you still have to approve the IRS to transfer information. Dependency status. Most students are going to be dependent of their parents until they're age 24. That means parents are going to have to include their parental information, income, and so forth on the FAFSA until that time. But there are a few exceptions. And these are those: if you're in the armed forces, if you're married, if you're with child that you financially support more than 50%, if you are in foster care anytime after the age of 18, legally emancipated, or in a legal guardianship, then you can click any of those, one of those boxes, and you would be an independent student. And the students, you can't just randomly pick one and say, I'm not going to include my parental information, because the colleges are going to verify that information. So if none of those apply to you, you'll click none of these apply. Also, if a student is homeless or an unaccompanied youth, meaning they're living with somebody that's not legally responsible for them. Maybe it's a grandmother, maybe it's an aunt, maybe it's a cousin, maybe they're living with their brother. Maybe they're living with a friend. So if they are living with somebody that's not legally responsible for them, they could be considered homeless and an independent student. It's going to ask you if you want to apply for unsubsidized loans only, because everybody is eligible for unsubsidized loans. But your first year, you want to definitely put no. You want to be screened for a Pell Grant, Supplemental Education Opportunity Grant, all of those, in order to see if you're eligible for any free money. If next year you know you're not eligible for that, you only want unsubsidized loans, you could mark yes on this, and then makes that FAFSA move a lot easier as well. So which parent is going to be on the FAFSA? Who's going to contribute to their information to your FAFSA? If your parents are married and or living together, then they both will be included on the FAFSA. If they are divorced or separated, then you will pick the parent that's financially supporting you the most the last 12 months. That parent will be the parent on your FAFSA, and that's the parent that will need an FSA ID, a FAFSA account. If that parent is remarried, then the step parent or the spouse will also have to include their information. If they filed jointly in 2023, whether it's the biological parents or the parent with a step parent, if they filed jointly in 2023, typically only one parent will need to create the FSA ID, because they can give approval to have their tax returns transferred over. If the married couple filed separately, or maybe they weren't married at the time, they have two different tax returns, then both parents will have, or both contributors will have to create an account, and both will have to give a permission for the IRS to transfer tax returns. Okay. And it's going to ask the student, are your parents married together? Yes or no. Are they living together? Yes or no. If they are not together, does one financially support you more than the other? Yes or no. And then if so, which one would that be? And once you've answered those questions, you're going to have to enter parental information here. So names, first names, last names, birth dates, socials. If the parent does not have a social security number, you can mark, my parent doesn't have a social security number. Now, if you don't know the social security number, that's not the correct answer. Only if they don't have one. If they have one, you'll need to put that in correctly and make sure that it matches exactly how your parent has their account. So parents, I've seen this a couple times with the ladies. Maybe they were a Smith a couple years ago, and now they're Taylor, and now they're Smith Taylor, but their Social Security card says Smith. You've got to make it just like your Social Security card. And however you have the student is putting it here has to match your account. So if something comes up that says your information is not matching, you got to check first name, last name, birth dates. And again, I had one student that just flipped the 8 and the 7. So check all of that, make sure all of that's correct. Once you hit send invite parent, it will send an email to the parent at that point, and I'll show you that in just a second. Once students have gotten that information in, they'll start selecting their colleges. You can put up to 20 schools. You do not have to list all 20, but you can search any schools across the country. You do not have to have applied to the school. You do not have to have been accepted to the school or anything like that. So do not wait on admissions to apply for the FAFSA. List any of the schools that you're interested in. If you're listing 20, and then next month you decide, I don't want one of the schools, I'm going to replace it, you come back in and you can replace it, no problem at all. Then the student will take a moment and review all their information. They will see the section of their contributors. They will then read the final summary and they will sign and submit. Then it will say you're almost there because your parents, the contributors, are still needing to complete their part. In fact, I was at an event the other night and two groups of people came in and said mom had to finish their part and the student had already done their part. So it's important for the parents to do that part as well because, again, the faster it's done, if you're eligible for some of that free money, that's first come, first serve, that's going to be very important. So this is what the email looks like. It's basically just telling the parent that you've been selected to be a contributor to a FAFSA, which does not mean that you're financially responsible for contributing to the student, but that your information would be needed to determine eligibility for Pell Grants, loans, and so forth. Now, you don't have to have gotten the email. Sometimes it'll go to junk or something like that. If you're not seeing your email, it's okay. Just log into your account and then you will go to My Activities. And even if you get the email and you click Get Started, it brings you to your account. You log in, you go to My Activities, you click Get Started. And students, this is the same way. So if the parent starts it, and you're sent the invite, you log in, go to your My Activities, you see that you've been invited, and then you get started. And parents will go through filling out pretty much the same information the students did as far as tax returns, assets, check what's in your checking, savings accounts, and so forth. And then you will also get a review page. You will give consent to the IRS. Again, how did you file? This is really important, the family size, because as I said earlier, it's a part of the calculation for the student aid index. And a lot of times it says, is your family size different than your tax returns? I always mark yes, because if you mark no, you won't see this bottom part. So you really don't know how many are in the household. So when you mark yes, this bottom part pops up and it says typically it's just the student and how many parents they have. And if there are more in your household than that, you want to make sure that you're including them because that again is part of that calculation. So you would add the additional people in the box on the bottom. And then parent, you may have to include spouse's information if the student didn't. And then you sign and submit, and you'll be done. And once you're done, the student will get an email that says it has been completed. Now, if there are any unusual circumstances like unemployment, underemployment, or anything like that, go ahead and fill out the FAFSA. And then once it gets to the school and you're getting award packages or information, then contact that college to let them know there's been some unusual circumstances, and they will ask you for any documentation needed to then be able to adjust your income, which would ultimately adjust that student aid index. So Georgia Match, most of you got Georgia Match letters, so make sure you're looking on GA Futures for those colleges and institutions that have said we want you to come be a part of our team. You have a lot of options there. And all 22 technical college system of Georgia institutions participated, but for USG, most participated. Georgia College and State University, Georgia Tech, and the University of Georgia did not participate. So if you do not see them on your letter, that doesn't mean you can't apply. They do a holistic admissions process and did not want to be a part of um, saying that they would match a student based on solely on their GPA. So don't think that you can't get in if they're not on that letter because they did not participate. You can go to my GA Futures and look at the Georgia Match section to see which institutions matched you. You can claim your spot. You can request information. And then in just a few days, we are having March Madness. So just like November was Apply to College Month, and we had free they were waiving all the applications fees. They're going to do that again in March, and that information will be on our website of the codes and different things like that. So be aware of that. So even if you applied to some in November and then have decided you want to apply to some additional colleges, you can go there to get those waivers. So a lot of information. This is sort of just a quick next step list of things you really need to do. You need to make sure you have a GA Futures account. Check your high school Hope GPA, complete your GSF app, complete your FSA ID, and of course, you've got to complete your FAFSA. The FSA ID, I see the wait for match there. If you create your account, especially parents, students not so much because they don't have a tax return typically, but parents, if you create your FSA ID today, you will need to wait 3 days for it to match with the Social Security Administration. There's a big yellow bar on there that says, we strongly suggest that you wait for the match, because if you wait, then that information from the IRS will be automatically transferred and you will not have to put that in manually. So it would be much easier if it matches. So if you're creating your FSA ID, give it a couple days. You can go in and make sure that it's matched. And if so, then you can finish your portion of the FAFSA. Now, this is the representative map, all of us across the state. My name is Brenda Vaughn. There's my email address and my phone number. And feel free to call me, text me if you need any assistance. And I think we can open it for questions. Not sure how you want to do the questions. You might can chat questions. You have any? Okay, I see somebody. I think I can unmute you maybe. Let's see. Let's see. Did I allow you to have a mic? Maybe, did that work?
Can you hear me?
I think so. You just a little louder.
Um, so my question is regarding if you if you have a FAFSA ID when you were in college yourself as a parent, do you need to create a new FAFSA ID?
Again, if you already have an account, then you cannot create a new one. And so if you have one, you'll just go through the forgot my username, forgot my password. I know some people are like, I don't know what email, I don't have access to that email or phone number.
Right.
When you go to studentaid.gov and there's a thing at the top that says contact us. If you can get to their 800 number, they'll help you through that process of resetting that. If you're not sure if you have an account or not, you can start creating one. The minute you get you'll put your name and your social and hit continue, and then it will tell you if you have an account or not. If it's been that long, you probably had an FSA ID. No, it was a FAFSA pin back in the day,
Yes,
and
you are
that's
so
not,
right. It was a pin.
yeah,
Okay.
and that's not the same thing. So if you want to go ahead and try and create your account, it will tell you if you have one or not.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
My last question is, are we able to schedule an appointment with you or a representative that, well, you're the representative that's in our district, right?
That's me.
Are we able to schedule like a one-on-one um, with you personally to address any specific questions, regarding our our
So,
process?
yeah. Again, my name is Brenda Vaughn. My email is there and my phone number. So feel free to give me a text or an email, and we can set up a time to talk about it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Did anybody else have any questions?
That was never a thing. Well, if we don't have any additional questions, I would like to thank Ms. Vaughn for coming on and helping us out this evening. Parents, I hope you found this beneficial, and we will have the recording for you all. I thank you for joining us this evening, and again, we hope you found this beneficial. Thank you all so much for joining us this evening. And Ms. Vaughn, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Anytime.